Okay, so this is lesson 4.4, and we are dealing with quadratic models, okay? So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to highlight this word right here, quadratic. When you hear quadratic, you guys, something needs to come into your brain. What do you think of when you hear the word quadratic?
Parabola.
It is a parabola, exactly right. It's a parabola. And the equation is going to have what in it? What kind of x? A squared. Yeah, that's what makes it a parabola, right? Okay, so here we go with question 1. A soft drink manufacturer has daily production costs represented by this equation, where C is the cost in dollars and X is the number of units produced. Find the number of units that should be produced each day to yield a minimum cost and round your answer to the nearest whole number. Okay, everybody, stay with me right here, okay? What I want you to do, whenever you do a word problem, is I want you to start with X equals and Y equals, okay? Now, I've thought about changing how I present this, but it always goes well because you guys think in terms of X and Y, right? If you look at that equation, there's no Y. So why did I just put Y on the paper? Because you think of X comma Y. I know you do, okay? So whatever it's solved for is the Y. So the Y is the C, which stands for the cost, okay? And the X is really represented by an X, and that is the number of units produced. So you're producing a product. It's soft drinks, I think it says. Yeah, soft drink manufacturer. Okay, so find the number of units that should be produced to yield a minimum cost. Okay, there's a word in that sentence that I just read that tells you what to do. This is really quite an easy problem. What's the word? It is minimum. Okay, so what they're doing is they're asking you for the vertex, like that. You guys, this is a parabola that opens up. So if you look like that, they're looking for that right there is what they want you to find, the vertex. You could complete the square. I would never complete the square. I would say h is negative b over 2a. Now you have to be a little careful on this problem because it's out of order. So the a is 0.055 and the b is negative 120. So you're going to go negative 120 over 2 times a, which is 0.055. Okay, a negative over a negative is a positive. So that's going to be 120 divided by, if you go 2 times 0.055, you get 0.11. And then if you go 120 divided by 0.11, you get 1090.90, and then some more things. Okay, now stop for just a second and let's think about what that stands for. Guys, it's the x coordinate of the vertex. What does the x stand for? Units produced. What did they ask me for? Find the number of units that should be produced. So that's my answer. They asked me to round it to the nearest whole. So my answer is 1091 units. And that's my answer. If you don't have the word units on your answer, you're going to lose points. It's part of the answer. You have to stop and think about what it stands for. That's all you have to do. Literally, we're done. Okay? Okay, question number 2. The marketing department at TI has found that when certain calculators are sold at a price P dollars per unit, the revenue can be described by this function. Okay? Everybody start like this. X equals and Y equals. I want you to remember that what it's solved for is the Y. It's solved for R. So my revenue is, my Y is the R, which stands for revenue. The X is represented by the variable P, it's the other variable, and that stands for price. Okay? What unit price should be used to maximize the revenue? Guys, it doesn't matter if they say maximize or minimize. The reason this one says maximize is because this is a parabola that opens down. Well, a parabola that opens down is going to have a maximum, right? Okay, so you just do the same thing. You just do negative b over 2a. So that's a negative 21,000 over 2 times negative 150. Grab your calculators, you guys. I'm going to show you something, okay? I definitely have felt like there's been a little bit of frustration with the fact that I'm insisting that you get this calculator, okay? I'm allowed to do that. You guys had to have a graphing calculator in secondary 3 and 2 and maybe in secondary 1, so I'm just doing the same thing. Very soon, I think maybe today, you're going to appreciate that I made you get this thing because it's so much easier, okay? You have 2 negatives in the number, so that's going to give me a positive. So everybody put it in like this, 21,000 divided by, now there are 2 things in the denominator, so I have to input parentheses around the denominator. So I'm going to go parenthesis, 2 times 150, close it off, hit enter, and I get 70. Okay, you guys, the 70 is the x coordinate of my vertex, and that's the price. Read the question. What unit price should be used? That's my answer. What's the label that goes with the 70? You have to have a label. It is $. Yep. Put in a $, and that's your answer. Okay. Look at question B. If this price is charged, what is the maximum revenue? And then I put in parentheses, they're maximizing the Y. How am I going to find the maximum Y, everybody? Plug it back in. Yeah, we've done this. This is not difficult, you guys. So everybody go R equals negative 150 times 70 to the second plus 21,000 times 70. Okay, grab your calculator. And I want you to put it in exactly the way that you see it. Okay, so everybody go negative 150 parenthesis and then go 70, close your parenthesis, then hit x squared plus 21,000 parenthesis 70, close it, enter, and you get 735,000. What's my label? $. Yep. And I'm done. You guys make sure that your calculator's in or your cell phone's in the phone box right now, okay? Make sure you've got that put away, please. Okay. Question 3. So you guys were scared that these were word problems. This is not scary so far, right? So far, so good. Okay, question 3. A baseball is hit. Don't start without me, okay? We're going to do this together. You're going to have plenty of time at home or in lab to do this on your own. A baseball is hit at a point 3 feet above the ground at a velocity of 100 feet per second at an angle of 45 degrees with respect to the ground. As soon as you read that, your anxiety goes up. Okay? I bet. The path of the ball is given by this equation, where f of x is the height and x is the horizontal distance from home. Okay? Everybody start like this every single time. I want you to go x equals and y equals. The y is the f of x, and it says f of x is the height. So I'm going to say y is my height, and that is in feet. And the x is really represented by an x, and that is the distance from home. Okay, this one does get a little bit more difficult than the first two, just so you know. I want you to take your pencil, and I don't want you to scribble, but I just want you to very lightly cross through that first sentence that gave you anxiety. Okay? Cross through it. Don't scribble, because you want to read underneath it, but I want you to cross through it. You don't need the first sentence. That's why I crossed through it. Someone tell me why you don't need it. They already incorporated all that information into the equation. Good. Read the question. Where will the ball be when it reaches a maximum height? You guys, there's that word again. Maximum. This is a parabola that opens down, and so it's going to have a maximum. So I'm going to go, my h is negative b over 2a. That's negative 1 over 2 times negative 0.005. 2 negatives gives me a positive. I can forget about that. Okay? Grab your calculator. Make sure when we put these in our calculator that you physically pick up your calculator and you push the buttons, because if not, you're not going to know how to do it. So make sure you join me, okay? Everybody go 1 divided by parenthesis, 2 times 0.005, close it, enter, and you get 100. What does that 100 stand for? The x coordinate of the vertex. What's that? Distance from home, right? And that was in feet, by the way. Where will the ball be? It is 100 feet from home. Okay, here's what they're asking us. Look right here. They hit the ball. It goes up like this. And here's my maximum right here. Okay. They want to know what's that value right there. What's the x coordinate when it peaks up? Okay. Okay, what is the maximum height? Every person in the room, what do? Plug it in. Yeah, this is easy. So everybody go f of 100 is equal to negative 0.005 parenthesis 100 squared plus 100 plus 3. Grab your calculator and put it in just how you see it. So negative 0.005 parenthesis 100, close it, x squared, plus, I'm going to put in 103, hit enter, and I get 53. Okay, 53, what's my label, everybody? Feet. That's the highest that that ball is going to go. Okay, question C. This is the one that's a little bit difficult, a little bit more difficult. How far from home plate will the ball be when it reaches the ground? I really need you to listen so carefully to this question. There's lots of little things I tell you, and if you listen, it's going to make it so much easier, okay? So everybody look right here. Just kick back and look. So here's your ball. Okay, when it's hit, it's 3 feet above the ground. Then there's the path of the ball, okay? And then they want to know, how far from home will it be when it reaches the ground? I need someone to raise your hand and tell me where on that graph that I just drew is the ball touching the ground. Raise your hand and tell me. At 0. What do you mean at 0? Because there's a lot of at zeros on this graph. I think you know. That's okay. What is 0?
It's the x-axis.
It's on the x-axis. Yes. So somebody answer her question. What's 0 at that blue point right there? It's the y. Yeah, and the y stands for the height. So I want everybody to underline this, reach the ground, and I want you to put y equals 0. Okay, then I want you to write down that equation, negative 0.005 x to the second plus x plus 3 equals 0. Now I have to solve that. Would you factor? Would you try to factor? No, even if it factors, why would you ever do that? That's insane, right? Would you complete the square?
No.
Could you?
Yes.
Sure, but that would be horrible. So I would never complete the square. So yes, quadratic formula. Off to the side, I want you to write this down. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Some people miss these questions because they don't know the quadratic formula. That's silly, right? Okay, let's do this. I want everybody to write x equals. My a is negative 0.005, my b is 1, my c is 3. So it's going to be negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 squared. Everybody freeze right here and listen. This is where you really have to listen to me for the rest of this thing, okay? Don't ever write anything squared right here. Never. It's going to mess you up on the calculator. So just don't do it. Figure out what it is. So what is 1 squared? 1. That number that I wrote right there is always going to be, tell me, always going to be positive because when you square it, it's a positive. Okay? Minus 4 times a, which is negative 0.005, times c, which is a 3, all over 2 times negative 0.005. Everybody look up. I've done 2 things wrong on that line I just wrote. One is annoying. The other one I would actually take points off. Okay? Someone tell me one of them. Abigail?
The division line isn't under the whole top.
And do you think that's annoying, Abigail, or do you think that's wrong? That's wrong. That is very different than this. So you need to be careful. Okay? There's another thing that's wrong. What is it? Yes, and I feel like that's sloppy, but you still kind of know what you're doing. Okay, so pull that over and be careful. Okay, here's where you're going to love the calculator. You ready? Grab your calculator. Okay. Okay, now we're going to listen. Okay, don't do anything yet. Do you see how the directions tell you to round? Okay. You don't have to do this. You don't have to put the numbers in that square root, get a number, then write it down, then start pulling out pairs, and then see if you can reduce. You don't have to do any of that. You can literally go right from your setup to your answer because they told you to write it in decimal form. So you don't have to do any little steps in there, and it's going to mess you up if you do the steps. Okay? Okay, everybody do this. Add parentheses around the top, and add parentheses. Tell me where the other set is that I have to add. Around the bottom. Okay? I want you to grab a calculator. Okay? And listen and stick with me. Okay? Parenthesis. -1 plus second x squared. I want you to freeze right there. Do you see when you hit your x squared, the calculator, don't change it on your paper, but the calculator inputted a parenthesis right there automatically. Do you see that? Okay, I just want you to make note of that. You don't have to write it or anything. Then I want you to write 1 minus 4, or type in 1 minus 4 parenthesis, -0.005, close it, new parenthesis, push a 3, and then I want you to freeze. I want you to figure out how many times we have to close it. So the first time I close it, I'm closing the what? Tell me. The 3. The second time I close it, I'm closing the what? The root, because remember the calculator inputted that? Then I have to hit it again to close the, talk to me, the top. So I want you to draw an arrow right there, and I want you to put 3 closed parentheses. Go right there. Okay, now we're going to go divided by parenthesis. Now, I want to tell you something. Some people don't listen right here, and I guess it doesn't really matter, but look right there. I don't put it in like that. I know that means multiply, so I just go parenthesis, and then I go 2 times, and I put that number. If you put in all those parentheses, it's fine, but it's easier to just hit times. So I'm going to go 2 times, -0.005, close it, enter, and I get -2. They want it 2 digits, so it's -2.96. Okay, now listen. Grab your calculator. Hit the up arrow 1 time. Then I want you to go right, right, right. So now my cursor is on top, right on top of the plus that's in front of the square root, right? Hit the blue minus sign, hit enter, and there's your other answer. So your other answer is 202.96. Okay, now I don't want you to clear your calculator, just hold it right there. I'm going to show you some more things, okay? Somebody talk to me about that -2.96. It doesn't make sense, right? Listen to this. I'm the batter. There's the pitcher. X stands for distance from home. I hit the ball. What does a negative distance from home mean? Tell me that. Flew behind you. Can you play baseball with the ball behind you? No, that's a foul ball, right? And that is negative distance, doesn't make sense. So listen what you have to do. You have to write that number down, and then you have to write invalid solution. If you just don't write it and acknowledge it, that's a -2 on that question. 1 point for the number, 1 point for the statement invalid solution. Okay? 202.96 is your answer. Put a box around it or highlight it, and you're done. Now don't clear your calculator. When we get to the midterm, you're going to want to check every possible thing that you can check. Okay? I'm going to show you something and I want you to watch, okay? This 202.96 is on my calculator, okay? I want you to go to the left side of your calculator. Second button up says STO. I want you to hit that. And then I want you to hit enter. So you just stored in that exact value for a value of A. Then what we're going to do is we're going to input this in our calculator. And when we put that in, we better get a 0 right there. Okay, so do this with me. Everybody go -0.005. To pull back up that value of A, on the left side, third button up, see how it says membar? Hit that. then hit enter, then hit x squared, plus membar, enter, plus 3, enter, bam. I just checked it. I know I got it right. Because when I got my answer, I plugged it back in immediately. And I got it, okay? If you got lost during that check, don't worry, because we're going to do it again, okay? I had a hand up. I had a couple of hands up. Go ahead.
So like on test,
Talk loud so everybody can listen, or everybody can hear you. Quiet, please, you guys. Go ahead.
on the test, do we highlight 202.96, but don't highlight?
Yes, just like what I did.
Right, so
Yeah.
you don't want us to write.
I want you to write it, but not highlight it, because it's not an answer. Yes. Hey, guys, will you guys, when someone's talking and asking a question, will you be quiet? Because that's polite manners, okay? Okay, somebody else asked a question.
How do you clear the numbers from your storage?
You don't have to. Yeah, some people get worried that it's programmed in, it's going to mess your calculator up. It's not going to. Okay, everybody good? Okay, let's do the next one. Okay, I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit, okay? A projectile is fired from a cliff 500 feet above the water at an angle of 45 degrees with a muzzle velocity of 400 feet per second. In physics, it's established that the height of the projectile is represented by this equation, where x is the distance from the base of the cliff. Okay, everybody write down x equals y equals. The y is the h of x, which is the height of the projectile, and I can see it's in feet, so height in feet. The x really is an x, and it represents the distance, horizontal distance from the cliff. Why do they say horizontal distance from the cliff? Well,
why is the vertical distance?
yeah, it's not height, it's not this, it's this, how far away, okay? At what horizontal distance from the face of the cliff is it at a maximum? There's that word again, okay? So I'm just going to go, h is negative b over 2a, and that is negative 1 over 2 times negative 0.0002. Now, I've got two negatives, so I know it's going to be a positive. Grab your calculator, okay? Everybody go 1 divide parenthesis 2 times 0.0002, close it off, hit enter, and you get 2,500. What does that stand for? The x-coordinate of the distance, or x-coordinate of the vertex. What's that? Distance from cliff. Read the question, distance from cliff. So I'm going to say feet, and I'm good. Question B, what is the maximum height? You guys, we just keep doing the same thing, right? What do? Plug it in. So everybody go, h of 2,500 is equal to negative 0.0002 times 2,500 squared plus 2,500 plus 500. Okay? If you want to store 2,500 in your calculator and hit membar here and membar there, you can. Or you can put it in how you see it, whatever you want. So everybody go negative 0.0002 parenthesis, 2,500, close it off, x squared, plus 2,500 plus 500, hit enter, and your answer is 1,750 feet, and we're done. Okay, question C. How far from the base of the cliff will the projectile strike the water? Everybody underline strike the water. Strike the water is exactly the same process as hitting the ground. So what do? You do what? Which is what? What do we do? Let y be a 0. Yeah, let y be a 0. Okay, so it's going to be negative 0.0002 x to the second plus x plus 500 is equal to 0. Okay, quadratic formula. X equals negative 1. That's negative b. Plus or minus the square root of 1 squared is 1. Minus 4 times a, which is negative 0.0002, times c, which is 500, all over 2 times negative 0.0002. Okay, grab your calculator. Please do this with me. Input parentheses around the top and around the bottom. I would literally write that on my paper if I were you. Okay, here we go. Let's make sure we're good. Parenthesis. Negative 1 plus second x squared. 1 minus 4 parenthesis. Negative 0.0002, close it. New parenthesis, 500. Right now, every person tell me, how many times do I close it? 3. Close, close, close. Divided by parenthesis, 2 times negative 0.0002, close, enter, and I get, they want 2 digits, so it's negative 458.04. I know immediately that is not going to work, so I'm going to write right now invalid solution. You must write the number down, okay? Now stick with me. Everybody go up. Right, right, right. Make the plus a minus, hit enter, do not clear your calculator. So it is 5,458.04, and this is in feet. We're done. Why not take an extra 30 seconds and check, right? Everybody hit store, enter. And then I want you to go negative 0.0002, membar, enter, x squared, plus membar, enter, plus 500, enter, bam. Got it right. Okay? Who says I'm good? Raise your hand. Let me see how you're feeling. Okay. So just so you know, I had to merge 2 lessons together because I have so much that I have to teach you. I had to merge 2 lessons together, and that was the end of the first lesson. And now this used to be the beginning of the second. So we're kind of halfway done. Okay. Okay, here we go. Question 5. A farmer has 2,000 yards of fencing. No. To enclose a rectangular field. What are the dimensions of the rectangle that encloses the most area, and what is the maximum area? Okay. Okay. Stick with me. Step number 1, draw the rectangle. Okay. Now you're going to want to watch. Stay calm. This is not that big of a deal. This is the length, and this is the width. Put an L, put a W. Then I want you to draw an arrow to that, and I want you to write a note that says, only use one variable. Well, I've already used 2 variables, but I'm going to change that right now. Okay? So she has 2,000 yards of fencing. She has to cover the length on the bottom, the width on the side, the length on the top, and the width on the other side. Okay? What are the dimensions that maximizes the area? Okay, so altogether she has 2,000 yards of fencing. So everybody go 2,000 equals. What does she have to cover with the 2,000 yards? Tell me. 2 L's and 2 W's. So I'm going to go 2W plus 2L. That's easy. Put a little asterisk right here and tell yourself, solve for L. That's what we're going to do right now. Okay, so move your 2W over. So everybody write 2L equals 2,000 minus 2W. And then solve for L. You're going to divide by 2. So I know that L is 1,000 minus W. I can divide 2 into everything. Okay? Yes?
Do you care if the W is in front of the number, or if, like if it was...
It should come behind it.
Okay.
Because if you have 5x and you wrote that as x5, that's awkward. Okay? So now we know what L is 1,000 minus W. So I want you to come over here to the picture, and I want you to get rid of the L's, and now you're going to replace it with 1,000 minus W. So now I only have one variable. Okay? How do you find the area of a rectangle? Guys, you take this, which is the length, and you multiply it by that, which is the width. Okay? So everybody write area equals length times width. So that's going to be area equals W times 1,000 minus W. the length times the width, right? Now I want you to distribute that. So that's 1,000 W minus W to the second. And then I want to rewrite it so that it's in the right order, which is negative W to the second plus 1,000 W. Okay, now I want everyone to just freeze. I feel like this is a good place to recap, so I want you to look at what I've done. Okay, I called this L, I called this W. So my 2,000 covered 2 W's and 2 L's. I solved it for L, and I replaced it. Area is length times width. I wrote it down, I distributed it, and I wrote it nicely. Who says I'm with you? Raise your hand. Okay, guess what? Now we're back to all the other problems that we just did. So you've got the formula. Weird, I didn't touch that. You've got the formula. I'm not touching anything, just so you know. You've got the formula, and now you just have to maximize it. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite it over here. I don't know for sure what's going on, but I'm going to just rewrite it over here. I'll change pens maybe. It's been going so well as far as technical issues with this system I have. It's weird. It's like I've got this box. Okay, anyway, let's see if it'll let me write. Okay, so I've got area equals negative W to the second. Is that what it is? Mm-hmm. Thank you. Negative W to the second plus 1,000 W? Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is insane. There we go. Yay, it's back. Okay, so I'm going to maximize. So that's going to be negative B over 2 times A. So that is negative 1,000 over 2 times negative 1. Okay, a negative over a negative is a positive. 1,000 divided by 2 is 500. 500 stands for the x-coordinate of this equation. What is the x-coordinate of that equation represented by? W, right? Read the question. What are the dimensions that enclose the maximum area? So that's it. That's one of the answers. So it's going to be 500, and this is yards, by, now I have to find the length. So I've got the width, now I have to find the length. So everybody go, length equals 1,000 minus the width, which is 500. So my length is also 500 yards. The dimensions, some people I think don't know what dimensions mean. That means what's the length, what's the width, okay? Now, the question is, what's the maximum area? You have 2 options of doing this. You can take this 500, which is your answer for the width, and you can plug it here and plug it here and get your area. Totally works. But I'm not going to do that because I know the length and I know the width, and to find the area, I just tell me, everybody. Multiply those together. So everybody go, area equals length times width. That's 500 times 500, which is a 25 with 4 zeros, 250,000. And this is going to be yards. Talk to me. Yards what? Yards squared, because it's area. That's my answer. Okay, let's do another one. Every problem gets a little bit tougher, just so you know. Okay. A woman wants to enclose a rectangular garden attached to her home with 1,200 feet of fencing. The side of the garden is her home and it does not need fencing. If the woman divides it into 2 identical plots, you know what, actually? I'm going to do 7 first and then I'm going to do 6. So I'm going to reorder these because I think 7 is easier than 6. A woman wants to make a run for her dog. The pen is up against her house. She has 1,000 feet of fencing. What dimension should she make the run so it's as large as possible? Okay, everybody stick with me. Draw your rectangle. Here's your L. Here's your W. It's up against a house. Take your pencil and I want you to go like this. So I want you to put her house right there. Okay, always put the house or the river or the barn or whatever it is right at the bottom. Make it easy on yourself, okay? So if the right is W, then the left is W. If the bottom was L, then the top is L, okay? So she has 1,000 feet of fencing. Tell me what she has to cover with 1,000 feet of fencing, everybody. 2 W's and 1 L, right? So go 2 W's plus 1 L. Try not to peek back at the last problem. What do you do now?
Subtract the 2 W's.
Tell me in a general way.
Get L.
Solve for L, right? So move the 2W over. So you have L equals 1,000 minus 2W. Go to your picture, erase the L, and fill it in with 1,000 minus 2W. Now let's find the area. So the area is the length times the width, which is the W times 1,000 minus 2W. So I know my area is going to be negative 2W to the second plus 1,000W. I distributed and reordered in the same step. Okay, now we're back to question 1 and 2 and 3. So I'm going to go, I have to find my H, which is negative B over 2A. That's negative 1,000 over 2 times negative 2. 2 negatives make a positive. 1,000 divided by 2, pardon me, 1,000 divided by 4 is 250. Can you tell me what that 250 stands for? Tell me what it is. It's the width. Yes, it's the x-coordinate of this equation, which is the width. Read the question. What dimensions? So I'm going to go 250 feet by, now I have to find the length. So I go to this length equation and I plug it in. So we're going to go length equals 1,000 minus 2 times 250. That's 1,000 minus 500, which is 500. So your dimensions are 250 feet by 500 feet. Read the question. Find the maximum area. So they want me to keep going. So I'm going to go area is length times width. That's 250 times 500. Grab your calculator. 250 times 500 is 125,000, and that is feet squared. Okay, done with the question. I have good news and I have bad news. Okay, I always like to start with the bad news. I don't know about you guys. My students took a midterm a long time ago, 6 years ago, something crazy. And I taught them how to do this problem. And then I checked the scores on the midterm, and there were like 10 people that got 99% on the midterm. And I was like, yeah, that's amazing. And then I was like, crap, that's my fault. There's no way that many people would get 99. I had to have told them something was acceptable, and it really ended up not being acceptable. So here's what I'm saying to you. See this right here? I never used to make my students show that work. We just did it in our heads, and they took off a point for not having that work right there. So what I'm saying to you is, I feel like some of you are not showing enough work. See how I've written that? That is exactly how you should do it on your homework, and your quiz, and your test, and your bell quiz, and everything, okay? Or they're not going to give you credit for it. Here's the good news. That was the bad news. Here's the good news. The good news is I have not seen this type of dog pen problem on the midterm or the final for a long time. So, say it again. Well, I don't think it is going to bite you in the butt because I'm teaching you how to do it. So you're going to know how to do it. I'm going to put it on your quiz. You're going to be great at it. I don't think it's going to be there. Okay? Okay, let's go back to question 7. So she has this rectangular garden. Okay, so draw the garden. But now she's going to divide it in half. I always want you to divide it in half the same way, and that's right there. Why? So you get used to it and it's easy. Okay? It's also up against her home, so I'm going to go like this. I'm always going to put the home or the barn or the river or whatever right there. Okay? So what do I have? I have a W, and I have a W and I have an L. Is that all I have? I have what else? One more W, right? Okay, she has 1,200 feet of fencing. So let's do this, guys. Look, 1,200 has to cover 3 W's and 1 L. What do we do right here? You tell me. Talk to me. Solve for L. So if you solve for L, you get 1,200 minus 3W. Go to your picture, erase the L, and replace it with 1,200 minus 3W. Okay, so now she wants the area of the whole garden, so it would be that times that. So now I'm going to go area equals length times width, which is W times 1,200 minus 3W. Distribute and reorder it. I'm doing it in one step. That's negative 3W to the second plus 1,200W. I like it in the other order so I don't get my A's and my B's mixed up. Okay, now I'm back to question 1. So I just go H is negative B over 2A, which is negative 1,200 over 2 times negative 3. 2 negatives give me a positive. 1,200 divided by 6 is 200. Read the question. What is the largest area that the garden can enclose? Is 200 an answer?
No.
This is big. People do not understand this. Is 200 an answer?
No.
Why not?
It's not the forest.
They didn't ask you for the, tell me the word, the dimensions. So you have 2 options. Find the length, then multiply the length and the width together. I would just plug in the 200 personally. So I'm going to go area equals negative 3 times 200 squared plus 1,200 times 200. Grab your calculator. Negative 3 parenthesis, 200, close it off, x squared, plus 1,200, close it, 200, close it, enter, and your answer is 120,000. This measurement is feet, so it's feet squared, and we're done. Who says I feel good about this lesson? I understand. Raise your hand. Let me see. Give me some feedback here how we're doing. Okay. All right. Question 8 and 9, and then we're done. A man owns a field. It's going to be rectangular, so let's draw it. He's going to divide it in half. Let's always do that the same way. There's a lot of ways we could divide it in half. Let's do it that way. Each of his sons will farm half of the field. He has 1,200 feet of fencing. What dimensions should he make it? So it's not like up against a house or anything, right? Tell me how many W's we have. 3 W's. W, W, W. How many L's do we have? 2 L's. L, L. Okay. So we have 2,400 has to cover 3 W's and 2 L's. Tell me what to do.
Solve for L.
Solve for L. So you have 2L equals 2,400 minus 3W. Divide by 2. So when I divide by 2, I get L equals 1,200, because 2,400 divided by 2 is 1,200, minus 3/2 W. Now I want to talk to you for a second. I know immediately you're like, ugh, I don't like that. If you grabbed your calculator, and I don't want you to grab it, you should know this. If you hit 3 divided by 2 equals on your calculator, what would you get? 1.5. Exactly 1.5. So since it's exactly, can I replace it with it? You bet. 1.5. If it was 1/3 and you replaced it with 0.3, is that okay? No. But 3 over 2 is exactly, so let's do it, right? So take those L's, get rid of them, replace them with 1,200 minus 1.5 W. Okay, now area is this times this. So let's just say area equals, you guys, I think you can do that in your head, right? 1,200 times W and negative 15 W, negative 1.5 W times W, that's negative 1.5 W to the second plus 1,200 W. I just multiplied this by this. Now I'm going to go, H is negative B over 2A, That's negative 1200 over 2 times negative 1.5. Okay, let's grab our calculator for this one. I can do it in my head. Can you do it in your head? What's 1.5 times 2? If you have a cup and a half, twice, 3 cups, right? 1200 divided by 3 is 400. 2 negatives make a positive. That's never going to be a negative 400 feet or whatever, right? Read the question. What dimensions? Is 400 an answer? Yes or no? Yes. So you're going to go 400, and this measurement is in feet, by, now I have to find the length, and it is feet. So I go L equals 1200 minus 1.5 times 400. When I put that in my calculator, I get 600. Okay? And then I go area is 400 times 600, which is 6 times 4 is 24, and there are 4 zeros in there. So it's 240,000, and that would be feet squared. I have a question for you. I want you to listen. If you wrote this down, my width is 400 feet, and my length is 600 feet, that is wrong. I've never written it like that. I wrote it like that, not noting which was which. Can someone tell me why that would be wrong?
It's not in your dimensions.
Say it again.
It's not in your dimensions.
You could write it like that. Like, as far as notation, it's not wrong. Why is it wrong? Every period I get a person that can answer this question. Think about that. Why can I not say that the first one's the width and the second one's the length? Talk to me. What? Think of the picture. Why? How would the picture be different one way versus another? Go ahead. Yeah, you're right. So I don't know if it's 400 here and 600 here, or on its side, which is long 600 and not so tall 400. So I don't know which way it goes. I just know it's 400 and 600. Who says I understand what you're saying to me? Okay, good. Okay, here we go. This showed up on my final. I think this has a very, very, very high chance of being on your midterm. Put stars around it. I don't think it's tough, but I think at first it's tough. So if you don't listen, you're going to have trouble. Look, a football stadium sells X amount of hot dogs for a price of P dollars. What price of the hot dog maximizes the revenue? Watch me do this. Watch. H is negative B over 2A. That's negative 18,000 over 2 times negative 2,000. That's 18,000 divided by 4,000, which gives me 4.5. That's wrong. It's wrong. Why is it wrong? What did I do wrong? Go ahead, honey. This is a what, honey? What is that? That's a line. How can a line have a vertex? That's crazy. You can't do that. You can't do that. Don't. You didn't write it. I asked you not to write it, but if you did, don't erase it. I'll tell you why in a second. What do we do? If I'm trying to find a vertex, I have to have a what? Talk to me. Have to have a what? Come on. A parabola. Does anybody see anything right there on that paper that would lead me to what to do? Right there. You're trying to maximize the revenue. Everybody write down R equals X, which is that top equation, 18,000 minus 2,000 P, and you multiply that by P. So that's X times P. Now distribute and reorder, and you have negative 2,000 P to the second plus 18,000 P. Now I have a quadratic. But guess what? It's the same work. So your B is 18,000, so negative B is negative 18,000 over 2 times A, which is negative 2,000. So it's still 4.5. But if you don't turn it into a quadratic, you get nothing. Because that means you found a vertex of a line. And lines don't have a vertex, right? You have to get a parabola. Now, what's my label? What price of hot dog? Talk to me, everybody.
$4.50.
So what do I have to do to make this correct answer? The answer look right. I have to add a dollar sign. What else do I have to add? A zero. $4.50, right? Watch me do B. Don't write this down. I want you to watch me do it. Take the 4.5, plug it right there, and I get X equals 18,000 minus 2,000 times 4.5. I put it in my calculator. I get my answer. Wrong. Wrong. Why is that wrong?
Because you made it a
We made the new equation. You have to plug this into the parabola. Yes, so that's wrong. You put it here. So it's revenue equals negative 2,000 times 4.5 to the second plus 18,000 times 4.5. Okay, grab your calculator. Negative 2,000. If you didn't bring your calculator today, I think you're going to have problems when you're trying to put this in, and please bring your calculator next time, okay? So negative 2,000 parenthesis 4.5, close it off, x squared plus 18,000 parenthesis 4.5, close it off, hit enter, and the answer is 40,500. Everything has a label. My label's dollars, and I'm done. Who says I'm good? I get this. I need feedback. I want your hand up if you feel like you understand this lesson. Okay? Yay.